Welcome back to Going Dark, a podcast about Netflix's sci-fi series, Dark. I'm Dan.
I'm Olga, and today we are discussing Season 3, Episodes 3 and 4.
Yes, so this is continuing our epic journey from 301 to 304. So, we talked a little bit about these episodes in the 301, 302, so if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. That being said, let's get into the recap of Adam and Eva. In 1855, are we gonna ever get to the 1700s?
Really back in the day.
Yeah, we're going back, and we're starting with Gustav Tannhaus, who is the blind guy we met last time. He's a little boy here going to see Ariadne.
Call back.
Yes.
Or call forward.
Ooh. He's going with his dad, Heinrich, who has the For Charlotta watch. Heinrich is obsessed with time travel, and his wife is dead. Presumably, Charlotta would be the name of his wife.
One would assume.
So, point of interest.
Ta-da.
The watch.
Yes.
All right. So, in theory, this is the same watch that Charlotta gets later.
Yes, our Charlotta.
And that brings me to the question of, how much am I overthinking this? Is there any way that our Charlotta is connected with this guy?
Is she his Charlotta?
Did Noah name Charlotta after this Charlotta because of the lineage within Sucmundus? I don't know.
I mean, here's the thing. I think that you could argue in favor of her being the same Charlotta somehow by the fact that she was raised by H.G. Tannhaus, who's the great grandson of Gustav
of Heinrich, great grandson of Heinrich, right. I think. Yeah.
So, in that sense, it would be that could be another example of a square, I guess. But
I just don't think it works as far as ages go.
Yeah, it doesn't really.
Yeah.
I don't know how to justify this logically.
Yeah, because the thing that's throwing me off is I'm everything.
Yes.
The thing that's throwing me off is that when we first were introduced to the walk, they were like, "Oh, we're giving you back something that belonged to you."
Right.
And then in this next scene, we have the unknown stealing the walk, seemingly. So I don't know. This broke my brain a little bit.
Was she ripped out of time?
Well, I mean, we kind of know that in general, right? Because she
is ripped out of time, but in the future.
I guess, could somehow she ends up going from the future back to here and dies here. Maybe she dies here.
Oh.
I guess that's possible.
Yeah. It is not impossible.
So
let's put it that
I guess if it is our Charlotta, one would assume it would be that hasn't happened to her yet. That eventually she ends up back here and dies here.
Woof.
All right.
My
I guess
God,
that's
Charlotta's,
possible.
if that's possible, whatever. In any case, her being her own mother, her own grandmother is convoluted enough, let alone with multi-100-year time travel.
Yeah. Never know whether I'm overthinking things or not, but
seriously,
maybe it's just a fun coincidence.
Fun. Could someone cite any examples of fun coincidences on the show for me, please?
Fun. All right. The next thing that happens, like I said, is 1888. We have Gustav. He has the same watch and is murdered by the unknown trio because he was going to tell the world about the travelers.
But also, I mean, who would believe him anyway?
Yeah,
was
my thought. As I was the unknown trio bring objects they collected from victims to Eva. She, unlike Adam, works to preserve the knot. Jonas will always try to change things. Mark to one must die so the others can live. The unknowns gave Eva info and keys on the power plant, implying that she creates the original disaster, which we talked a little bit about last time.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been thinking, was I wrong to be Eva is trying to preserve her world and Adam's trying to preserve his world? Because she's saying she wants to preserve the knot. And knowing now that means
the intertangling of both worlds,
which we kind of knew, but also knowing now that unknown is her son, maybe she wants to preserve the knot so that her son exists.
She doesn't seem like the sentimental type, though.
Well, but except that both her and Adam, that's their entire
that's
thing.
Their entire
in a way.
point is being sentimental.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she produces this son, the origin unknown, and doesn't even give him a name though, just for the sake of like saving everyone. I don't know. I just caring doesn't come to mind.
I mean, the thing she says in this scene seem almost contradictory to me, because she says, I want to preserve the knot, which would mean things staying the same, I assume. But then she says Marta 1 has to die so the others can live. By the others, does she mean her Earth 2 people? And if that's true, that's not keeping things the same.
Right.
Unless she means so that, like, Adam's, the people Adam saves, like the Magnus and Earth 1, Barty and all that stuff. It's like I said,
I do not trust or understand anyone's true motivations. Yeah. And at this point, I don't know if we're actually supposed to.
I don't think we're supposed to.
Yeah.
I especially don't trust anything she says to the unknown trio, because I assume they're another patsy.
Yeah. Like, why would I not believe that they're being like twisted and lied to the same way Noah was?
Yeah, they seem like a Noah redux in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
Like more effective one, arguably more important one, but yeah, no, I don't trust any of this.
I don't trust her.
Nuh-uh.
Anyway, on Earth 1, 1888, Bartaj confronts adult Jonas about being Adam and killing Marta 1. They fight in the rain again. And I thought maybe Jonas would be better at fighting by now, but he still kind of sucks.
They both suck. It's kind of hilarious.
And this also fed into our whole theory about Adam eventually having Bartosz killed.
Yeah. Like, again, you were never a true believer. You never wanted to follow me. You always criticized me. Okay, go die.
Okay, go die.
Yeah.
Marta 2 gives adult Jonas her last energy ball thingamabob to prove he can trust her. They try to use it, but it only like semi-works and leaves some dark matter waste stuff behind, I guess, which eventually helps him. But they don't get to time travel right now, but they learned from it, is my assumption. Anyway.
I guess it's the beginnings of the God particle. Like, it is the God particle, but it's not like the full portal yet.
Well, I'm confused about the difference between the God particle and the dark matter, because I think those are two different things.
I guess so.
I still don't really get that. When they turn around, they find Marta 2 is gone. She used her other extra ball thingy to go to Adam. Ooh.
She lied.
In 2053, Earth 1, Marta 2 comes to Adam. She had traveled to adult Jonas on his orders. Ooh, the tangled web they live.
And this is, again, why we are like, well, middle-aged Jonas must have forgotten about going to the alternate dimension,
because obviously Adam knows.
Yeah, Adam knows and is manipulating things still.
On Earth 2, 2019, Eva tells Jonas that they are glitches in the Matrix, and they're here to save both their worlds. It took Eva a long time to realize Jonas will always choose Marta 1, but for both Martas, he needs to show Marta 2 her future. I remember this scene kind of had an impact on you, because you were like, she's telling him to break her own heart, kind of.
Yeah. Like, manipulate me, make me fall in love with you, make me care about you, and then pull the rug out from under me, because that's the only way I can become this person.
Yeah.
I was like, that's messed up, but also the show.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I don't really think Jonas is manipulating Marta 2. I just think ultimately, like, because I think that everything he does with her seems genuine enough. I just think ultimately he can never let go of Marta 1.
And that's exactly what I mean, of like, you're going to always know that you are not going to be with her because she's her. You're going to be with her because she reminds you of who you love and actually care about. Yeah. And you still need to go through, like, you need to forget your morals here and just let yourself give into that.
Yeah. The kids told Ulrich about Mads' body. He's convinced Mads' killer kept his things and put them on a new body. I guess that's
more logical than it being Mads. And the whole thing is, Ulrich didn't immediately recognize like the scar on Mads' face either. Like
either version,
yeah. So I mean, maybe he'll get there. Maybe he'll realize that. But
he doesn't have very much time. Ulrich breaks things off with Charlotta in a very similar parallel scene to how he broke up with Hannah. Hopefully, Charlotta takes it better.
I really hope she does, because I'm not. She's a different person
Yeah.
than Hana. And Hana is still the same person on this universe.
Ulrich visits Marta and asks if Killian gave them drugs when they found Mads. Magnus and Marta are both angry and are like, no, we told you the truth. And I'm just like, why did you expect anyone to believe you guys? You should have just said you found the body in the bunker.
Yep.
But okay. Hana drops food off for Ulrich and realizes that he's sleeping with Charlotta.
Well, here's the thing. She has the reason that she goes to check out her suspicions is I brought food.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, oh, incidentally. She's like, she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
She's taking a deep huff of Charlotta.
I kind of disagree with you.
Really?
I think she's going there to see Ulrich, maybe just because she wants to check up on him.
Yeah.
But I don't think she thought of Charlotta until she sees Charlotta.
Okay, that's fair. But I still think that she could have, exactly. Like, she went there to be like, is Ulrich, he's mine.
Yeah.
Is he telling the truth? Does he? And here's the thing. If she saw any blonde woman, I think she would have been like suspicious of her. But right in front of her, she sees Charlotta. So, yeah.
Marta visits Killian and they break up. He thinks she was just using him to upset her parents. Everyone assumes the worst of him because of his class status.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it was weird how quickly this was dealt with. It was sort of an interest, because part of what maybe felt weird to me is it was like an interesting idea to bring up that I don't think is going to be dealt with more.
I mean, that's the same problem as in season 1. They like start with the that family also being a comment on class, and then they just drop it because that's just not where
the show.
It's like interested in pointing that out, but not really following it through because we don't have any protagonists who are
actually
a different class. So it's just kind of like I don't know. To me, it's another set piece as opposed to actually making a commentary.
It says something about Marta, I suppose, because she really doesn't fight back about what he's saying to her.
Yeah.
She's like hurt, but not enough. She's not indignant in any way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Which is so different from, or is it really that different from Marta 1, who was like doing a hunger strike and like she was pretentious.
Performative activism.
Yeah.
Hana blackmails Alex into destroying Charlotta's life. As she does.
Yep.
Well, maybe now we'll actually get to see him try to destroy someone. We'll see what that means.
Because she'll still be in this universe.
Charlotta goes to Peter's church, where he appears to be with a young man who is Benny pre-transition.
Maybe.
Or something like that.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're talking about like how they both feel sinful, or maybe they were cheating, or maybe they I don't know. It has implications, I suppose.
Does. Yeah.
Charlotta thinks Helga is responsible for the dead child. Peter gets a call, and Helga had confessed. This was a fun twist.
Yes,
I like this quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm like sitting there waiting for Helga to run off again and try to do something, but he doesn't take the law into his own hands, and
he does the smarter thing in this world, I would say.
Smarter, but also still tragic. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he killed him. He should go to jail.
I mean, yes, but he's still a man, not an unwell man, you know.
So then Ulrich flips out on Helga, and Helga recognizes him. He says, "You're alive. It was him. It was him." That brings us to our next point of interest.
Mm-hmm.
Should we take this at face value that it's the same thing, that he goes back in time and hurts his eye? Or was like Ulrich the Noah in this situation?
That's what I'm wondering. Because it's not just like Helga's reacting out of like accusation. He's reacting out of fear.
Yeah, but he would have reacted out of fear in both worlds, because
that's true. Because he was
him in the face.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just be taking this at face value.
I'm not ready to do that yet, but
yeah.
Either way, I'm not going to be like disappointed, if that makes sense. Like if they decide to go with this just being another parallel, like instead of trying to, Ulrich still tries to kill Helga because he tried to kill Mats. Like that still makes more sense to me than Ulrich becomes the proto Noah.
Yeah, but why does he take the coin out? That's the thing. They make such a deal out of that, and to me it implies, look, it's the coin. I have the other coin. Like, it's a little confusing. Definitely interested in that and seeing where that goes.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by
I love
this
me
still.
some Helga.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm so happy he's back.
Yeah. Then we return to Jonas creeping on Marta, but this time he convinces her that he's not a creep. They have a connection. He brings her to her future where the apocalypse seems much worse, and they meet adult Marta too.
It's a wasteland.
Or female stranger, as the credits still want to call them.
Okay. Sure.
Also, was it this episode of the one before where it randomly talked about adult Bartosz as though he was there?
I don't remember, but we were both so confused by that. And we think we caught a mistake in the credits.
Yeah.
Because they were going back and forth between calling like our teens like kids or just basically
they called Magnus, Franziska, and somebody else all young versions. And then Bartosz was in the same scene. They called him adult
Bartosz. So we're like, well, where is we actually went looking for that actor?
Well, because
from the cave scene.
Well, because the credits go in order of appearance,
right?
So it was very clearly that they were still talking about
our
Bartosz.
Teenage Bartosz, but yeah.
So beyond the credit stuff,
mm-hmm.
We have this crazy new version of the apocalypse. Again, I don't really have any theories. Clearly something worse happens, but I appreciate that it looks more Mad Maxy than the other version.
Yeah.
Which I always thought
was worst world.
The other version was a little underwhelming for me, to be honest. It was just like more rainy and dark.
They're like,
and less
technology doesn't work good.
Yeah.
Weather is bad.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm not saying I would want to live in that universe, but with how climate change is going, we probably will. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, in the episode 2, when they were explaining what happened, I'm like, this doesn't really seem like an apocalypse.
Yeah. It just
seems like
a tragedy for the people of Vinden, which is still bad.
A few other places, I'm sure maybe it was a worldwide tragedy, but it doesn't seem like the end of the world.
Yeah.
Like the fact that there literally is like all these soldiers set up, and it still seems like there's like a good amount of presence of people in that area.
But here's the thing. That's for now. We don't know what that world, the problems that it accumulates over those 30 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
Maybe it becomes the whole tribe of Europa.
Also featuring alternative world Ulrich, I guess.
Yeah.
Version number 3, where he has a mustache. Yeah, I mean, I think that the fact that Elizabeth is like the leader of her own cult.
But I mean, we've had a cult all the way back in the 1850s, so it's not anything new. Now they hang people, though.
Yeah, just like in the 1850s, and for too much of history.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, I think we're supposed to take it that it gets apocalyptic.
Yeah. Anyway,
so I mean, desert world bad.
I don't know that we have a ton to say about episode 3. Like we said previously, wasn't our favorite episode, but there's a lot to say with 4. So let's get into it.
Yeah, episode 3 raises a lot of questions. I will say, just to wrap it up, I don't feel like necessarily I need more questions right now.
That's fair.
All of these kind, like the extent of new questions.
Yeah.
So,
but hey, we get some big answers in episode 4. So.
Yes, I'm getting there. All right, so episode 4, The Origin. So we start on Earth 1 in the 1950s. We see Tronta walking by the caves, and he finds Unknown. He implies he's Tronta's father and gives him a bracelet that belonged to his mother. Unknown says he doesn't have a name. Later, we learn that Agnes has been missing for 3 months, and Tronta's like, she sucks, my father sucks. I don't want to have anything to do with these people.
Yeah. I like that I realized on rewatch that in episode 2, I think it was, Yana had the bracelet.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely setting up he's his dad, he and Agnes are the thing. Yeah, and I do find it interesting how like it seemed so obvious at the time back in season 2 or whatever that Noah was his father because of the way Agnes talked about him.
Right.
But we have a different preacher man.
Yeah, a different psychotic, awful person.
I think they love religion on the show.
I think there might be a commentary here. Or maybe not.
Who's to say?
Well,
the real commentary I want to know is, are they pro-incest or anti-incest?
Oh my God.
No, I have a real question about this because it feels like it's really pushing the incest as like that's the main romantic pairing, but it also like destroys everything. It's like the root of all evil.
Yeah.
You know, like it's the root of It creates a psychotic serial killer, and it creates every problem that causes the apocalypse in both worlds.
Yeah, when you've got a pool of like 15 people to choose from, people's genetics and behaviors might be screwed up.
Yeah, just saying.
I think it's very easy to say that the show is not pro incest.
I don't know that it is really easy.
I think it
has a more incest that is not problematized than any other show I've seen.
I think this entire universe is problematized.
Yeah, but like you're supposed to be rooting for the incest couple. You're not supposed to be disgusted when Marta and Jonas have sex.
Are you sure?
You're supposed to be more on board than not on board. I'll say that much. It's supposed to be like conflicted, but you're supposed to be invested in the romance of Marta and Jonas.
You can be invested in them, but that doesn't mean you should be rooting for them to make babies.
I mean, okay. I don't know. I wasn't rooting for them to make babies, sure, but that doesn't mean that. I don't know. Anyway.
Because this is what happens when they make a baby. He's brainwashed into a triplicate murderer or whatever.
Maybe they're triplets and they all just came out at the age they are.
Who's to say? As usual.
Yes.
Is that our like most commonly said phrase on the show other than as incest?
Ooh.
That's not a phrase. That's just a word. All right.
It's a way of life.
Oh my freaking God. All right. Tronte is in a weird love triangle with Yana and Claudia. He gives Yana the bracelet, as we said. But Claudia is like really pursuing Tronte as well.
Yeah, in a way you would not normally see on American television with people that age.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy the opening scene of the girls looking at the magazine and stuff like that. And I think the reason I wrote it's a weird love triangle is, I mean, it seems so clear to me in this episode that Tronte cares way more about Yana, but then in the future he cares way more about Claudia.
Yeah.
And I guess the only way I can reason it is that he like has more like actual like feelings for Yana, but like can't like deny the lure of Claudia. Like he's like obsessed with her more. I don't know, but it seems like he really does care that that she disappeared too. So I don't know. It's interesting.
I just think it's one of those things where when they're younger, Claudia is pursuing him, whereas Yana is kind of embodying like the innocence that she's, made fun of for. Yeah. And he's had a hard life. And so I can see why that would like be sweet and appealing to like why he would like someone like that when he's younger. But then when he gets older, he's just like maybe not as interested in that innocent sweetness anymore. And there's more of that like,
I think it goes beyond the innocence, though, because I think part of it is that she was treating him like a human. And that's the thing. It was like, I feel like he just like let himself be dragged along by Claudia and didn't seem to like have very much interest in her as a person. But at the same time, this is like a pivotal part of his life. And she was like his household and everything and like his mom's gone. So like, I guess I can sort of see how that's a thing that's hard to walk away from.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think it is a little too easy to be like, oh, he's another man who's unfaithful, because there is more complexity to that for him too. Although again, that's kind of the reasoning for everyone's complexity as well as their own like childhood baggage.
Yeah, I have more sympathy for him than I do for a lot of the other people. Yeah,
me too. Egon has been banging Hannah and he tells her he loves her. Speaking of people I don't have a lot of sympathy for.
Egon and Hannah.
Yeah. He gives her the St. Christopher medallion.
This is the origin.
The origin. She discovers she's pregnant and he gives her money to get rid of it. He is an uber dickhead. That's our German word of the day.
Yeah, really not an Egon fan in this episode at all, man. He's just gross. And when Hannah's the other side of the equation and I'm still annoyed at you.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. He's like, and then he accuses his wife of, I mean, she doesn't love him, but even so, the way he like brushes off Doris is like, I mean, awful too, because he's pissed off at Hannah for like not loving him back. And then he accuses her of sleeping with other people. Like, he's a awful person.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't that mad at him about Doris, but I also was like, why are you still I don't know. Him and Doris are just like a weird relationship, and I at least respect Doris for being like, let's get a divorce.
Oh yeah, no, I respect her. I respect Doris, but my whole thing right now is I don't respect Egon.
Yeah, but I'm saying I understand why Egon was pissed at her. I mean, she clearly was cheating on him for an extended period of time. I mean, I think it was very obvious.
You think that he understood that,
that
she was cheating on him with Agnes?
Yeah, 100%.
Huh.
That's how I read it. I mean, they had multiple things of him like looking and seeing them tucking each other and stuff.
I guess, okay, you know what? That's true. Yeah. I kind of forgot about the fact that he caught them a few times.
I mean,
so it just makes him but that's the thing why I'm not on his side here either, is that it makes him a huge hypocrite.
Yeah.
So why? Yeah. So yeah, they have a weird relationship, but he's.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm saying I at least have respect that finally she realized, what the heck are we doing? Yeah. Let's just be done with it. And for some reason, for him, it's like, I'm going to drink myself to death because of it.
He lost both women. He drove them both away.
Yeah.
He can't even keep his sham marriage going because of his.
Yeah. I don't have sympathy.
Exactly. Yeah. No.
I had sympathy for him before, and then I just feel like he was just such a ass about all this.
Yeah. Yeah. Infidelity is gonna screw you over in the end. So anyway, Hannah goes to get an abortion, and she runs into Katarina's mom, Helena.
Which I think is a point of interest. Yeah.
She's a young kid, and she's waiting for an abortion as well.
Yes.
Oh man. Hannah decides to keep her kid, and she leaves Helena the St. Christopher's medallion.
Yeah. Okay, so 2 questions here. Mm-hmm. The first one is, what does this reveal to you about Helena and potentially why she's abusive to Katarina?
I see it as the vicious cycle of abuse. Mm-hmm. I mean, is the idea that, and this is something that maybe I either missed or they didn't get into, but it kind of I gathered that Helena was being like prostituted by her family.
Oh, that's not how I read it. I read it more that she was being abused by a family member.
Maybe, but the point is that her family is the reason that she
is in this
situation, the reason that she got pregnant, and that her own mother was like, your baby's gonna go to hell. Mm-hmm. You're, like shaming her for being the victim.
Yeah.
I got that vibe. So however she got pregnant, that was firmly the story that I gathered. So the fact that she is put on, like, she can't escape her religious path, and she kind of forgets the hope of what this brings. But that's also kind of, it comes back in the way when Katarina in the future cites the St. Christopher medallion and gets Helena to be sympathetic again. So
but only for 5 seconds.
Only for 5 seconds.
Do you think Katarina is a product of a happy union? Or do you think it's similar to the whole thing with Helga's mom?
That's a great question.
And my other question is, and I don't know if we know this or not, but was Katarina being abused before the rape accusation? Or was that what set this all off? That she's like, oh, you're having sex too young, just like I was, and I'm taking that out on you.
No, I think the vibe I don't remember what lines specifically, but my understanding was that Katarina's relationship with her mother was bad.
Consistently bad.
That her mother was abusive even prior to that.
Yeah, so I don't know. I assume it's the cycle of abuse sort of thing. And I do appreciate that they always sort of give another lens to someone who seems like a one-sided asshole.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. When Katarina, like, beat the shit out of Regina, I was like, like, you were awful to her. You bullied her. Like, this isn't, I understand you're under a lot of stress, and she gave you a snarky remark, but that wasn't like okay either. Yeah. But that's exactly it. Katarina doesn't take it out on her own children. Like, she was trying to break that cycle, but she still has all that like rage and anger and awfulness pent up inside her, because she wasn't like shown the right way of expressing that, and had a bad home life. Not to say everyone who has a bad home life will have that and behave that way, but nonetheless, the cycle of abuse is a everything for a reason.
Well, so the other question I have is, what do you think was said here or happened here that made Hannah change her mind?
Maybe because the problem is at this point we watched it a few days ago, so I don't actually remember all of the direct lines.
I wasn't sure what I was supposed to take away from it, unless it was her seeing this kid isn't in a position to handle their child. I am an adult, and kids need someone who can actually take care of them. And I actually think maybe I can connect with someone with a child the way I can't with men or something. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, but then the thing is that the reason she left was because she felt betrayed by her own son.
Yeah.
Too. I think a lot of it is really just like, he wanted me to get rid of this child, and I refuse to be to follow what any man wants me to do at this point.
I don't buy that, because I do think she was gonna do it until she talked to Helena, and I'm interested. I kind of like the fact that I don't totally get it, but I feel like we're supposed to feel that conversation is what led her to change her mind.
Yeah.
Moving on.
This is a heavy subject. It was a heavy scene. It was not something I expected to see in this show.
Nope.
No. So Doris, she goes to church looking for a connection between Agnes and Hanno Tauber. Noah.
Ooh.
They both went missing at the same time. She finds the unknowns. They tell her that Egon is cheating on her. She then tells Egon she wants a divorce. Mm-hmm. So
we were all like, "Oh, are they just gonna kill her?"
Yeah.
And we liked that this episode they did some non-murder stuff.
Yes, I like that it gave them the dimension, 3 dimensions, 4 dimensions. Huh? Later, the unknowns force the mayor to sign a building permit for the nuclear power plant.
Yep,
that was a great scene. Yeah, I mean, we just said that I like when they're doing non-murdery things.
This technically counts. They didn't murder.
I mean, maybe they do later.
I did enjoy the use of the young unknown with the gun too. Yeah. That was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. On Earth 1 in the future, Adam sends Agnes to a different time with a tough road to follow. It partially involves informing Claudia of her death. Mm-hmm. She hugs the future girl before leaving.
So this was the thing that I talked about last time, where it's like, I think Claudia is working with Adam.
Yeah.
And then as far as the tough road, I assume she gets assaulted by unknown, and that they're sending her to have that happen to her.
Yeah.
And
even though in theory that already happened to her?
No, I don't.
Oh, this is pre.
I think it hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet.
Yeah,
okay.
That would be my assumption. We don't know for sure.
Yeah, I was a little bit confused of because that was my assumption too, but at the same time, I couldn't really understand where their timeline is relative to what we've already seen.
Yeah. The one that kills Noah, do you think that's the most, like, the oldest Agnes we've seen? And is this Agnes that same Agnes or a different Agnes?
That's what I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But for it to make sense, that has to be to follow your plan of like,
this has to be a younger one.
Yeah, this one has to be the younger one who hasn't left Autumn yet, because she doesn't have Tronta yet.
At the same time, the last time we saw her with Adam, it seemed like an older version. So maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe he's sending her off to her death, and this isn't.
I don't know.
Anyway, point of interest.
More questions. Yes.
So before she goes, she hugs Future Girl, which brought up the question we had last time, which is Future Girl her mother, or is Future Girl Agnes? I don't think age-wise that makes sense, but
for her to be Agnes.
Yeah. But I wouldn't be shocked. I still think she's her mom.
I'm leaning towards that as well. But if they make it so that's not the case, I'll be fine with that too.
Yeah,
I guess. So I just want to know. Yeah, I just want a name for Future Girl. Yes. So on Earth 2 in the future, adult Marta tells Marta about her future. Adult Marta says they can only save one world. They can save everyone, but Jonas has to let his world and his Marta go. This is everything he wanted. Mikkel can live and they can stop the apocalypse. In this world, he and Marta are not impossible.
Because it's not incest if you don't exist.
If you don't exist. No matter what your DNA tells you.
Yep. This kind of brings me to, I wanted to talk to you about, we're close to the end now. What do you think the end of the show looks like.
I've been thinking about that, and I really don't know.
Because my assumption would be one of two things.
Mm-hmm.
One is the worlds merge.
Mm-hmm.
And the other is that we get a world without Jonas and Marta at all. The problem with that option is that leaves us with like Peter, Hannah, and Katarina and Helga. It leaves us with very few people.
No, there's still a good amount of people.
Like who?
Ulrich still.
No,
he doesn't exist.
Ulrich doesn't exist. Regina doesn't exist. Noah doesn't exist.
Right.
Charlotta doesn't exist, which means Franziska doesn't exist. Yeah. I'm like, so like, are Alex and Hannah living together, and Peter finally gets to be with a man?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
man, that's a good point.
There's so few people left without them that I have trouble buying that.
Does Vinden even exist?
I could buy that being true,
because without the unknown, the power plant will never be built, and that town won't necessarily have that economic stimulus. I could see the show ending and like the town is just forest or something.
Do you think people would be happy with the way the show ended if everybody we ever cared about just stopped existing? I know it's a show that isn't based around characters.
Exactly. I just feel like the show is not about like giving the audience what it wants.
Yeah, but I feel like it has to give us some of what we want. That's the thing. Like, I expect this to be a bittersweet ending, and I also am expecting. The thing is, I feel hard. It feels hard to guess things on this show because I'm guessing under like normal television lens,
under normal circumstances.
Like in my brain, I'm like, I picture Adam and Eva bleeding out together and dying in the finale as the worlds combine, and they're not there to see what happens. And
that feels just poetic enough.
Yeah,
but
I mean, we have to come back to the rule is what's the most fucked up thing possible, which I guess you're right. Vinden itself not existing.
That to me is the most fucked up thing possible. Is just them being like a tragic goodbye and then like kaput. And then it's just like nothing real is left.
Part of the reason I have trouble buying that is that that's not very visually interesting, showing nothing, as opposed to showing here are the three people that are still left, or here are the people who vaguely remember something happened, but they never meet each other. Like, I
mean, we could see them just not really there, or just like briefly, or maybe as the world is melting, as the universes are colliding, or something like that.
I mean, what would you want?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I really don't have any. I really just want to see what they're trying to do before I theorize about it, because I'm so confused about I have so many questions about what they're even trying to set up right now that I really don't feel like I have the ability to say what I want, because everything feels out of left field to me. But what do you want?
I mean, I feel like the things I want can't happen.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I do want Jonas and Marta to be together,
right? And
that like doesn't work. Maybe I wouldn't be upset if they merged it into one world that doesn't have Jonas, but Marta's doing okay.
So just Earth 2, basically.
But an amalgam, like not exactly Earth 2, like still like mixtures of the two. Like again, a combination, but part of the combination is Jonas isn't there anymore.
Okay,
but I don't know. Let someone we like have something positive. That's what I don't want it to be 100% bummer. That's my main thing. Like let Ulrich and Katarina work it out and the kids are all happy. Like, you know, like Jonas then doesn't exist and Hannah's still a psychopath.
You know who I want to have a happy ending? Helga.
He's a murderer. You like him too much.
Helga doesn't. He gets out of the house with his abusive religious mother and just like has an okay life with the inheritance of millions.
I mean, the problem is that like anything they do to like erase time travel, like I said, like erases like everybody.
Yeah.
Like you can't have Charlotta without time travel.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe they erase everything, but like our core people end up in like a little pocket somewhere in the 1400s or something. I
where incest is acceptable. They're
back on Pangea. All right, back to the recap.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, I want Jonas and Marta to work out and not as Adam and Eva.
I don't
see how that could work.
Either Adam or Eva are going to kill Unknown, would be my assumption. And I expect it to be Adam, but who knows?
Yeah. I mean, again, she's not, Marta / Eva doesn't seem like the sentimental type, so I could see her.
What I really want is that the three unknowns point the guns at each other.
Do a Mexican standoff. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I want that too. I've decided.
Yep.
So Marta freaks out and Jonas calms her down and they bone.
Hey, it is good. It is
good for them.
Is Ariadne playing? Who doesn't love that?
They're wrapped in string.
I could watch that.
Okay. We find out from Noah on Earth 2 and Adam that the origin of everything is Jonas and Marta 2's child, the unknown. So we've been talking about this for a while.
So yeah, the reason that's kind of a funky sentence is Noah talks about it on Earth 2, but is it Earth 2 Noah?
Or is it just our Noah who never died, maybe?
Or who hasn't died yet. Is
correct.
On Earth 2.
Right. I always forget about the time travel.
No. So who's to say?
Who's to say?
But yeah, they basically, through multiple scenes, we get the full picture of the lineage, which I think is the next
Yes, it
point.
is.
Yeah.
The unknown, he creates an infinite lineage loop. Jonas and Marta were never supposed to end the apocalypse. They were to create the origin.
Thus part in the little tree of infinity.
Yeah, so the thing that binds the two worlds together. It's the beginning of the knot and it will be its end. The lineage goes from Unknown and Agnes to Tranta and Jana to Ulrich and Katarina to Marta, and then it begins again.
Yep.
Yeah. And then we have here like Jonas standing on the Earth 1 side and Eva standing on the Earth 2 side.
Yeah.
And then
Adam
the line going up
middle.
to Adam and Eve. And
then we have Unknown standing in the middle
Unknown
later.
being the infinity. Yeah.
Yeah. So very cool reveal, like that quite a bit. We did have some questions about the use of the word origin here.
Right.
Because it is an infinite loop. So there is no starting point. And we talked about like, in order for him to exist, Marta already has to exist. And
Jonas already.
Well, forget about Jonas.
Okay.
In order for him to exist, Marta has to exist. And in order for Marta to exist, it just goes back around. So why is he the word origin seems wrong to me.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the connecting point or like the intersection or something. Like
the knot.
Like,
the knot but he's not the origin of the knot. Like the knot is
the knot is instantaneous and always. There is no origin. That's the thing that makes it's a weird use of a word. It's a weird word choice to me.
Yes.
Because I understand he's the most important connection because he's something that only exists by means of the two worlds coming together.
He is the reason, the way and the reason the two worlds are tied together.
Yeah.
But he is not.
But he can't exist without the two worlds already having come together.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
He is the center of it, but he's not the beginning of it.
Yeah, so calling him the origin feels, unless we're talking about isn't there like a different word, different meaning for the word origin, where it's like the center of the circle or something? I forget, but yeah. But I guess when I hear the word origin, I think of the starting point.
Yes.
And they talk about the beginning and the ending. There is no beginning. So like it's funny because they're being so philosophical and how everything's infinite, but at the same time, I'm like, but you shouldn't even be talking about beginnings and endings. There is no beginning.
There is no beginning. It's an infinity.
Yeah. Whatever.
That's why he's an infinity. And Marta, too, was drawing infinities and all of that.
Yeah.
What is this? The Fault in Our Stars?
Their love is infinite.
Except not really, because she's just Jonas's rebound.
Yeah. And that brings us to this beautiful sex image that I've just kept on here for fun. All right, guys, that wraps up 303 and 304. We will be back soon. At most 2 episodes, maybe even 1 episode.
Yeah, I wonder if it makes sense now to start going back to one at a time because we're in the We're in the back half of the last
Yeah.
season. Like, I swear, if we are not going to start getting answers to things in 305, I will riot in the next podcast.
Yeah, so maybe we will go to once a week again with one episode. We will let you know. Always check us out on Twitter at DoingOK Video. I keep updates there. And always, send us feedback at our podcast, feedback@gmail.com, or rate us or review us. All that stuff would be great. Thank you so much for listening and watching and all that stuff. And we'll see you in the future.
Bye-bye.